Okay, so let's take a look at how you can set up MySQL server instance and then connect that to Beekeeper Studio. So if you log into Google Cloud, you will have dashboard like this. Make sure to set up your project and billing there. Now the next thing is we will click on view all products and then we will go to this particular page where we can check the databases, right? And within databases section we can click on SQL. Now this particular section SQL would be something we should be exploring for our MySQL instance. So here you see create instance with free credit. So I'll be clicking on that, where you can see it gives me option to choose between MySQL, Postgres and SQL Server. So let's click on MySQL and then we'll be able to create an instance. So let's name this something like dev MySQL. Then we will add a password. Now once you add the password, you can also generate it if you want. There is also option of password policy. Now here the policies that you see for your password, you can set minimum length, increase complexity, avoid reviews and disallow username. So you can do those policies. In case of database, you can see database version MySQL 8 is being considered. Now you can choose the configuration to start with. You can choose between production and development. I will choose development. You can choose the configuration for development. 2 CPU, 8 GB would go by default. Now here let's take a look at choose region and zonal availability. Now in case of that region, you can see I'll be picking in Asia because that's closer to me. There is also this green icons that shows low carbon emission data centers. You can choose them if you are environment conscious, right? So next would be to choose data center close to me. Then zone, I will stick to single considering this is my test database. There isn't any serious, so I'll be reducing anything serious as such, right? Now another thing that I would be doing is I will try and configure everything under configuration options. So we have like machine type where you can see high memory, then lightweight, shared, standard, etc. So I will be choosing custom, which is 2 CPU 8 GB memory. Then I will scroll to check the storage where you can choose between SSD and HDD. So in case of MySQL you can use HDD as well, so it's not like you are forced to use SSD. However, it is recommended to use SSD. Now next thing is to choose storage. So I'll be picking 10 GB minimum because this is test machine, no need to go 200 GB or so directly. There is also encryption option we have, right? So let's say if I want to check Google managed or customer managed, so I will go with the Google managed one, right? Then comes connection options where you can see connection we have is private and public options. So I will pick public IP and I will add all network, and for that I will use 0000 then /0. Then I will click done and move ahead. Then comes data protection where I can take automated backups with specific time and also point in time recovery. Then there is also deletion protection option that I can choose, right? So all these options ticked, I can move to maintenance part. So maintenance is something you will push for patches and updates for your database. So you pick any specific window within the week for the same. Then there is also order of update where you can choose any later and earlier option. Then comes flag. Flag is something that you allow for managing aspect of your instance, right? Then comes query insights, which would be something you should look at for your telemetry and other performance issues, you can use that, but I will be not enabling that. Then comes labels. So you organize your resources with tags and labels. On Google Cloud it's label, on Azure you would be having it under the title of tag. Now all the things said and done, I can click on create instance. It should take approximately 5 minutes or so to complete the instance. Meanwhile, I can move to Beekeeper Studio. Right here you see the Beekeeper Studio allows you to connect to databases like MySQL, Postgres, SQLite, SQL Server, and so on. So like this, I want to download this for Windows. Once downloaded, I can access it here, Beekeeper Studio, and I will open it. Right, so that gives you an idea. Right, now let's go to our instance. So here you see our instance is being formed, and I will be doing two things with it. One is making sure to download the SSL certificate. If it doesn't restrict me for SSL, so I'll be checking that part out. So here let's check the Beekeeper Studio. Here you can see I have connection option for MySQL, so I will select that and this pops up. So here I'll be adding my IP address. I will keep the port same, then username and password. There is also default database option. I will be skipping that and going to test it. So let's wait for things to show up. So here you see my instance is being updated, so we'll wait. Now as you can see, we have created the instance. This is the IP, so I will try and copy this. I can go to connections and I will try and put all the IPs in whitelist. There is also security option where I can allow SSL connection and I can download the certificate, right? So for now what I will do, I will just paste the IP. I can also put the username here, right? So in my case, the username you can check for users, and within users we can always find one user. Let's say root. So let's type in root and then test it, and connection looks good. I can connect. Now here you see we can maximize our Beekeeper Studio. Currently there is no schema, no entities, so here we get to create the database. Let's name this database something like MyDB, right? And we'll keep the UTF values. Okay, so now that we have database created, let's refresh, and here you see MyDB is there. I can expand on, and let's try and see if I can do additional stuff like, let's say, create a table, right? In order to do that, okay, so let's try and run query on MyDB. So I will try and create table. So create table, let's name this something like users, and within that I will try and use id integer, then name varchar 255, and then let's add age integer. Now once the table is created, what I will do is I will just run the query and let's see what it does. So here we have our users. I can do the insert query for this. Let's say insert into, let's say, users, and where you see id, name, age, salary, and I can use the values 1, then let's say name, then age and salary, and so on. If I use this query, let's see what happens. So one row gets added. I will just keep changing few values, and that should work for some output. So if we keep running the queries, we will have something worth showing, right? So next thing would be to again make some changes. We have like 3 rows added. Now next thing I will use select query to check. Okay, so we have our data added into our MySQL table. Pretty much everything we have done to establish the connection with Google Cloud's MySQL instance, and also managed to connect with Beekeeper Studio. We manipulated data and we have everything we need. That way we reached our goal.